Well, Tshepiso, so let's stay with the Zondo Commission because the Special Investigative Unit has suggested it will take action based on testimony at the Commission of Inquiry into state capture. It has been claimed at the Commission that the investigating unit, the SIU, report that found evidence of dodgy deals between company BOSASA and the Department of Correctional Services, but that report was quashed. The SIU says it set up a governance committee to look at the testimonies and consider if further SIU investigations are required. The governance committee will be chaired by the SIU Chief Governance Officer, Advocate Adv Muofhe. He joins us in studio now. Thank you for being with us, Advocate.
Good evening.
The first question on many people's minds, I think, is why are there not raids of BOSASA's offices? Why is there not strong action being taken right now by various authorities, including maybe the SIU?
Well, it's important for viewers to understand that the Judicial Commission of Inquiry is not a criminal court. Evidence led there must be subjected to cross-examination by those who are implicated in it. So it would be premature to expect other law enforcement agencies tasked with what you're asking
but
to do. But
surely documents and evidence can be destroyed if these claims are correct. On that basis, can't you raid offices and things? We've seen it before.
Documents, yes, indeed, they can be destroyed. But in this instance, we are talking about, especially from our side as SIU, the investigations we did dates back to almost a decade ago, so, and we do have, that is our investigation. So we've got all the documents. Now it's more a question of, as indeed it's a state capture inquiry, looking back at what transpired in the past. So if documents, if any, were to be destroyed, they would have been destroyed a long time ago anyway, at the time when there was wind that there's going to be state capture inquiry. Now we're basically working on documents which are there, documents which cannot be destroyed. Certainly documents in our positions, as the SIU cannot be destroyed. And crucial, for us as the SIU is that evidence-led there is premised by and large on the work that we've done. And so it is important for us to look at what comes out of that evidence there so that we can reconcile what comes out of there with our own report. After doing the reconciliation, our investigators would then advise accordingly as to whether there should be a need perhaps for us to relook at other elements in our report.
Well, can we look at that? Because one of Agrizi's main claims is that a lot of work was done to ensure that BOSASA was not prosecuted. And he seemed to verify an SIU report dating back more than 10 years, finding really dodgy tenders, dodgy deals between BOSASA and correctional services. There's been more reporting from the Mail and Guardian suggesting Tom Moyane maybe sat on that report. From SIU's perspective, what happened to that report? Why was it never acted upon?
Well, it's not advisable to run a commentary on what is happening now at the Commission. Otherwise, we run the risk of running a parallel structure.
But can't you say from your institution's perspective?
What we basically say is we have the report. And what is coming out of there is based on our report. We were the ones who actually came up with that finding that the relationship between BOSASA and DCS was an incorrect relationship. And we also made recommendations, remedial recommendations at the time. So there isn't anything, insofar as we're concerned, which can hamper our further investigation if needed. Even if it means us having to go to the President and request for a further proclamation, whether amending the old one or getting a new one, of course, based on what is happening overall at the Commission.
So you need a proclamation for an investigation?
We've investigated this thing in the past, but there is this Commission now, and we have what we could easily call a watching brief, so that what is happening there is of interest to us as a crime-busting institution. We certainly have to have an interest And so out of what is happening there, when we evaluate what is happening, insofar as our mandate is concerned, we find that there is a need for us to look at reinvestigating some of the contracts there. And even because in any case, BOSASA is still doing some work at DCS, we may have to bring up an application to set aside these contracts which were unlawful and invalid ab initio as the SIU. We've got that right to do.
Advocate, can we recap your own testimony to the Zondo Commission, which is very important, links to the other commission as well, Mahlodi. You testified that you were basically offered the NPA head's position, but you were pressurized by the president, or you believed that you should only take that up if you were going to protect a certain advocate called Nomnobo Jiba. Is that correct? Does that sum it up?
Francis, that's a bit of a curveball. Yes, that's what I said at the commission. Yes, yeah.
I'm putting you on the spot because you came and gave public testimony,
yes,
though. It was
true,
very public. So my
that's
question then, we're hearing claims now that Nomnobo Jiba was bribed, that the former president himself was bribed. Does that surprise you? What's coming out?
I wouldn't comment on things that I don't know. I mean, the issue of someone being bribed, those who know about the bribe which took place then are best placed to I was offered a position. I can only talk about what I was offered, but I wouldn't know whether the former president was bribed or...
Sure, but finally, from a personal perspective, people would say you clearly knew something was wrong with our prosecutions for a long time. Should you not have spoken earlier, or was that hard to do given the environment then?
Well, not necessarily. You basically wait for a proper legal instrument to be put in place so that you can go and ventilate what transpired in your case, because then here's a judicial inquiry which is in place. And I think that's the best forum to go there. I mean, one could have gone out and give interviews to the media. What effect would that have had? Sure. There would not have been any effect, but at least the judicial inquiry, it's a legal instrument which we go there and testify under oath. And I think it was the right thing for some of us not to basically say anything up until such time that we were requested to come and testify there.
All right. Well, thank you for clarifying that, sir. And we will follow the SIU saying it will take action if need be, ask for another proclamation, possibly investigate further based on testimony at the Zondo Commission. That was SIU Governance Officer Advocate Mahlodi Muofhe.